You guys are going to start your research today, so you should have a Google Doc with your primary research questions and then your secondary research questions that you came up with. And this is what you are going to be finding the answers for as you do your research. So one thing I cannot stress enough, if it does not answer one of your research questions, do not write it down. It does not matter for your research. It might be something interesting, but don't worry about recording that information if it does not answer one of your research questions. And as you do your research, you might come up with more research questions. That's great. Add them to your Google Doc so that you have a record of everything that you are researching. So the first thing you're going to do is go to the databases, and that was this that we practiced last week, and use the tools that you learned last week with the Boolean search and the phrasing search and all of that. I'm just starting with a really broad search. Their research question is, what role do primary sources play in debunking or proving the conspiracy theory that Lee Harvey Oswald was not a lone gunman in the JFK assassination? So I just searched Lee Harvey Oswald. And because it's so broad, I get a ton of sources. And just glancing over these sources, it doesn't look like any of this is relevant. This one probably is. So theories regarding JFK assassination, that might be something I want to look into. Hero, traitor, or spy sounds like something I might want to look into. Okay, so when you start doing your research, you will actually have to start reading these sources to see if it's something that will work for your research. And once you find a source that you think you might want to use, you need to do the CRAP test to make sure that it is something that will help you with your research. So you're going to look at the currency, the relevance, the authority of the author, the accuracy of the information, and the purpose, and see if it passed the test or not. And if it does not, then you do not need to use it as a source. So once you find a source you think you want to use, take the CRAP test paper, and I want you to complete that for that source. Once a source has passed the CRAP test, then you need to start recording the information. And there are several methods for doing this, and I am going to let you guys pick. So one strategy is taking Cornell notes using a Google Doc, and I have a template here that you can use. The important thing with all of these is that you are recording word for word from the source, and then you are paraphrasing or summarizing so that if you want to use the information word for word, you can. And if you don't, you already have a summary or a paraphrasing of it so that you can just put it in your paper. And I'll have links to each of these on Haiku. So that's the first thing you can do if you would like to. And this is organized by source. So you can put in the source information here, type all that up. You can copy and paste the MLA formatting citation from the source like we practiced last week, and then fill out the rest of that. And do that for each one for each source. And if you have different, or not different, if you have multiple pieces of information from the same source, then you could just do bullet points here or something. The next option is to use a website called Padlet, and it looks like this. It's kind of like little sticky notes, and you can organize those however you would like to. You can keep a sticky note for each piece of information. You can write down your information, and then you can drag and drop them, I believe, so that you can organize them how you would like to. And you can just create a free account and use that. You can also use a Google Forms or Google form, whatever you call it, and fill out all of this information for it. Again, I will have this on Haiku. And then this is just a more detailed method. Google Keep, I'm really not familiar with, but according to this, it's kind of like online sticky notes, and I've heard a few of you guys talking about it. So I know that you are probably more familiar with it than I am. If it's something you want to look into, you can just go to Google and look into it. Or you can use actual physical note cards. The important thing with whatever method that you choose is that you make sure and keep the information with the source that you're getting it from, because you will need to cite the information from each source to make sure you're not plagiarizing. And if you don't record that information while you're taking notes, you will get everything confused and it'll be a big jumbled mess and you'll have to do a bunch of extra work. So make sure that you can color code, you can number them, you can whatever you want to do, give them symbols, whatever. So like source 1, I'm going to put a 1 and then the source information. And then next to number 1 is where you can put your notes. So the main things to remember are to keep the source information with the source and to copy word for word from the source and then either summarize or paraphrase. So those two things, and that you are answering only your research questions. Another option is to use Google Slides, and then whenever we start writing our papers, you'll have your slides here. So like, let's say here's going to be your paraphrase information, and here's directly from your source, and you've got your information here, blah, 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 and your paraphrase here, maybe, come on. There's your paraphrase information, and here I have my source info, okay? And then maybe you have more information from the same source, and this is the same source, and then you come here and you have source info from source number 2, source 2 info, and then you have your information here. Then when you go to write your paper, you're not going to put the information in your paper in the same exact order that you did your research in. So maybe you're going to start your paper with source 2 information, so you can actually move it around and create an outline using these. So these are kind of like note cards in Google Slides, and you can move them around.